Who was it that was usually wielding the abortion instruments prior to legalization? You might be surprised to find out who it typically was. This is Christina with the Sisyphean Journal, and today is January 7th. It was January 7th of 1901 when 27-year-old Juliet died in her home on Wood Street in Chicago. She left her husband, 23-year-old James, to raise their little girl alone. Now, a Dr. Maggie Becker was arrested based on a coroner's verdict. Becker was held to the grand jury, tried, convicted, and sentenced to 14 years in Joliet. It took the jury 5 hours to reach the verdict. Juliet's deathbed statement wasn't considered admissible in court, but both her husband and mother were allowed to testify to the things she told them before she died. And if you'd like to learn what exactly it is she told them, like, share, subscribe, so I can go to Chicago and dig through the coroner's archives and find out. And you might be a little bit taken aback to notice that this was a doctor who had performed Juliet's abortion. Now, just from what I've seen in the Homicide in Chicago Interactive Database, it was doctors and midwives primarily who were implicated in these abortions. Now, this is early 20th century. When we start to get to the immediate decades prior to legalization, again, it was still primarily doctors. Mary Calderon of Planned Parenthood Federation of America did major research on this, and she concluded that about 90% of abortions were being done by doctors. Another woman, Nancy Howell Lee, did research by contacting and interviewing women who had arranged abortions, and her research, which was released in the form of a book, The Search for an Abortionist, prior to legalization, found that, again, about 90% of women found a doctor to do their abortions. Now, Nancy Howell Lee broke it down even further and found out that a lot of the non-physician abortionists were people like midwives or nurses who did have medical training. So this image of abortion as being the realm of rusty coat hangers prior to legalization, it's just not true. That's propaganda. Most women, just like Juliet, found doctors to do their abortions. And it's entirely likely, again, like, share, subscribe so I can find out, it's entirely likely that this was a case of all surgery has risks, and she simply underwent surgery before blood transfusions and antibiotics and couldn't have been saved anyway.